That's why I love the breath work, because sometimes you can get the feedback in 90 minutes. You get a shift. And so those transformations where I see like in 90 minutes and people share them with me. So I love when people share. I'm like, no, share more.
Today's guest has lived a life that sounds like a movie script, from busting gang members as a violent crimes detective in Chicago to helping people heal trauma through breath, nutrition, and nervous system work. Kristi Battalini is a breath master's instructor, 9D breathwork facilitator, and certified nutrition therapy practitioner. She's the founder of Fuel the Beast Nutrition and the voice behind the Untamed and Apologetic podcast. Her story is wild, but her message is grounded. Transformation begins in the body, and if you've ever felt stuck, burned out, or like traditional therapy just didn't go deep enough, this conversation might change everything. Welcome, Kristi.
Welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
We're really excited. Yeah, we're like super excited. We've been looking forward to this. So fun fact, we met you at a 9D breathwork session at Alter, which is a place in Chicago where you facilitate these breathwork sessions.
Yes, Alter Community. It's like a co-working space, but it's so much more. It's an amazing space that I do breathwork at least once a month. And you guys came to a session, and now we're here.
You were super gracious too, because we were like a little late and then we couldn't find like how to get into the building. And then, I mean, you were like super kind, helped us get in, helped us get situated. And that was a good session. And what was funny is I cry a lot in those sessions. Yes. And I was like, it was my first one in public, so I was a little self-conscious. So I was like trying to like hold it back like you do when you're in a movie with your dad so he doesn't see you crying.
Yes. But I'm so used to it because I always say it's so private. I mean, I go, just think of me as a doctor, because everyone cries, but no one else sees you. I'm the only one, right? And I see it so often. Yeah. So it's so normal, and it's just so, and I'm like, oh. And now at first when I saw people crying, I'd be so emotional too, like you're connected. But now I'm just like, it's such a release. It's a release for people. So it's like, oh my gosh, good, that person's letting it out.
Totally. You've actually been on my list of people to interview since we met you.
Awesome.
I wrote your name down. So I'm really glad. I feel like
this is
the manifestations come to fruition, which is great.
We like to ask a funny question to kind of loosen things up. So would you rather have to solve a murder using only astrology charts or lead a full room of gangsters in a breathwork session?
Lead a full room of gangsters in a breathwork session.
Now, what kind of gangsters are they? Are they like rap gangsters? Are they like gangbanger gangsters?
Whenever I see the word gangsters, I automatically assume the mafia.
The mob, like Al Capone.
I feel like I would be able to lead. No, I think actually mobsters would be harder to lead in a breathwork session than like
a
rappers,
Chicago gang,
right?
Gangbangers, because they're just like, some of them you like, and some of them are like, a little bit darker minded, I say, and some are just, in a bad situation.
Yeah.
What would you pick?
The astrology thing seems really hard. I'm not familiar with the stars, I don't know that I'd be able to plot it out. So I think I would also go with the breath work with the gangsters and the gangbangers.
How would you?
I think I like, I do well in those situations.
Yeah, you're like very people good.
Yeah, definitely.
How would you solve a crime using astrology charts? If you had to, though.
I don't know. I think that's a question for an astrologer.
Are you guys into astrology?
I'm familiar with it, but no, whenever people do like their moon charts, I think it's cool, but I've never really dove into it.
So not enough to actually solve a crime.
No.
I don't know that it would help you solve the crime.
Do you guys remember that Mexican guy who was a famous astrologer, and he was like all over the TV back in like the 90s? He was like the astrologer to the stars, and it was like very big, especially with Mexican celebrities. And I can't think of the guy's name. He was flamboyant, and he wore like kind of Liberace-esque outfits.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could think of his name.
That's funny. Maybe he could do it.
The one thing I think about astrology, I think why I've kind of stayed away from it, even though I think it's like, I think of it as cool and fun, is that I don't like anything outside of myself to control me. So like the moon is in, or the moon is like in this retrograde or all that stuff. Like, that's why I feel terrible. It's like giving your control away to what the stars are doing. Or you ever heard of the Schumann resonance? Yeah. And that's a big thing. Like, I have headaches because of Schumann resonance. I'm like, when I learned what it was, I'm like, there's another thing I have to worry about that's going to affect my body. And not that the earth does have energies. I totally agree. But I'm like, no, if I'm having a bad day, maybe I need to shift that, not worried about where the moon is today.
Yeah. So you can't give it full credit.
Full credit. Yeah.
I agree. Like with the moon thing, I've heard the moon impacts tides. So a tide will change based on the phase of the moon, and our bodies are mostly water. So I do make that connection. I'm sure it has an impact on us, but it's not
I
an
agree,
excuse
right.
for the behavior.
Yes.
Or why we're all acting a little kooky. You know,
Okay.
maybe you just need to check
a full
yourself.
moon. Like I do like, oh, it's a full moon or a little crazy. Like I do feel like there is some like a belief in that, but I also, don't want to be like, okay, well, I don't have to be crazy because it's a full moon type of energy.
I can learn how to process my emotions or move out of a nervous system anxiety attack.
Yeah, just because of the full moon.
Totally agree.
I relate to that super hard because whenever something good would happen to me, this is something I've been working on lately. And actually, Christina and I were talking about it yesterday. I'd be like, wow, thanks universe, or like, thanks God, which I want to be appreciative and grateful to whatever like the universal consciousness is. But I wasn't bringing it back to the self or being like, no, I actually had a part in creating this or bringing this into my life. And it was almost like being a victim of good circumstance versus being like in control of creating the circumstance. So that I think that's huge. Like, bring it into the self.
Right. Yeah. Little of both. Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I want to jump right in because we've been so excited, and I've a question that I wanted to ask you essentially kind of along your journey. You used to investigate violent crimes. So how does someone go from detective to a healer?
I always was like on the side. I actually went to school for like exercise physiology. So I was into fitness. And then I've always kind of been into nutrition because I was always an athlete. So I was a runner, an endurance runner, a triathlete. So I was always trying to figure out my nutrition. So it was kind of a natural progression. And then after I retired, I was like, I want to try this full time because it's like my side passion. And I feel like I've lived it my whole life. I've tried every diet out there. Like, so when I was doing nutrition, I had clients that were stressed. Like that was the big thing. It was like, okay, you can have some magnesium, but it's not going to change your stress levels. So the breathwork thing kind of came right when I was dealing with a lot of clients that were stressed. I went to a retreat, I think it was 2019, and we did breathwork there. It was the first time I actually did breathwork, and you had to turn in your phone. You didn't, and any watches, so you had no idea what time it was. And so I have no idea how long the session was. And they played loud music, and you breathed. There was like 40 of us, and afterwards, everyone had this amazing, at first, the first couple of minutes, I was like, this is weird because people were releasing and screaming. And I'm like, I want to get out of here. These freaking weirdo, like, what is going on? And it's like, okay, you paid a lot of money to be here. Just breathe. You're not leaving. So I breathed through it and my whole body was literally vibrating. And I was like touching myself, like, what's going on? Like, this is weird. And I'm breathing. And then the music was super loud. And afterwards, we all were like, oh my God, my knees, my body was shaking. And I was like, I've heard we're like vibrational beings. I believed in it. But once I felt it, I was like, this is insane. This is so cool. I've never experienced this before. When I get home, I'm going to do breath work all the time. And I got home, I did none of it. Like I went back to, sometimes you go back to your life, you're busy. I went back to my job, but it made an impression on me. So it was almost like you planted that seed. And years later, when I kind of came back to the breath work, I was like, I meant to do this. So I literally saw an advertisement for Breath Masters, which is the certification I have. The next morning I got on a sales call and like, I started the certification. It was like, yeah.
The seed thing is, I totally identify with this. It's like, you just never know what's going to stick with you. And then you have that thing that you just can't stop thinking about. Then you see these social media, to your point, dictating, all of a sudden something pops up and it just hits this chord inside of you. You're like, I have to go do that thing. That feels super aligned. It's nice that you honored that and you followed it through. Cause I think a lot of people discredit that. Like, oh, it's just the breath work. Yeah, I kind of liked it. I don't know if I want to take this new thing on. Good for you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It felt like right. I was just like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Note to self, everybody, the thing that you can't stop thinking about that feels inspirational, go after it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I explained this to you, but I'm an energy healer and I had kind of a similar situation. I was doing healings. I was getting healings done on myself and I felt really good about it. And I just kept thinking like, oh, this same thing, seed was planted. Like maybe I should be doing more of this. And other healers kept telling me that I was a healer and I had this reluctance to move into it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then this opportunity presented itself and I'm like, sign me up. Let's go. I'm here. It's around the same time actually too.
Yeah. It's meant to be. That is so cool. Yeah. It stays with you.
You work with high performers and athletes. So how does breath work help someone tap into flow or stay calm under pressure?
So the breath is the one thing that connects like our conscious and our subconscious mind. And it literally is like you have your thoughts, but the breath can totally calm you down. So if you're breathing from the chest, like you do in a game, or you get up to give a speech, it's like take that deep breath and you can calm your whole body down just with breathing and tapping into it. And then you combine that with your thoughts with like, I'm calm, I'm safe. And it's just the one thing that connects that subconscious mind, the conscious mind. And also when we do the 9D, all the binaural beats, the solfeggio frequencies, the affirmations are all in there. It's like a meditation. But that connection, what happens in your it's like prefrontal cortex, it's like turns off. So the conscious mind kind of quiets down so you can get in those deep layers of the subconscious. And that was the one thing. You can do it through meditation, but I feel like breath work's quicker and it's faster. So it's like we don't learn. Most of us are, I still have to remind myself to breathe deep sometimes. We're all stuck in the chest. So using that when you're, when somebody goes to take a basketball, a free throw, it's like, what do they tell you? Just take a deep breath. And so training that in situations where you're highly stressed, it's like you could become, I think it's so powerful and become almost like a Zen monk in these high stress situations. It's like the outside world's telling you to be crazy and you're like, no, I'm going to turn that off and just be super calm. And then I can perform at such a higher level.
Yeah, you can do it anywhere too, because you always have your breath with you. Hopefully.
Yeah.
How would you, I think it was a great call out. People are breathing from their chest. How would you explain, or could you explain to everyone how we should be breathing in these moments?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I just did a funny like metaphor. It was like a social media reel about the tortoise who lives forever, like 150 years, and breathes 4 breaths per minute. So it's like super slow. So the slower you breathe, the calmer you are. So you just breathe in through the belly, like diaphragmatically when you breathe in. So when you breathe in, your belly expands. And then your chest, and then you can hold it for a second, and then either exhale out your mouth or your nose. And it's just really slowing the breath down. And when people start, I say, lay down, put a hand on the belly and chest and just practice really breathing deep into the belly. And then you can go into so many other breaths, like deep breathing through your mouth, active breathing, which is in through the mouth, out through the mouth, where you're activating that sympathetic and turning off the monkey mind a little bit deeper. But yeah, just practicing breathing into the diaphragm. Simple, but powerful, right? And most of us don't do it. I know I never did.
As you're explaining that, I was doing it. Same. And I feel really calm now. I do this thing where I used to be like a corporate executive, and I'd be in meetings for like 4 to 8 hours a day because I'd be talking so much. I got in the habit of mouth breathing. So I would literally like regularly, I'll be like, why is my mouth so dry? Oh, dude, breathe out of your nose. Is there a difference between breathing through the nose and breathing through the mouth?
Yeah. So in 9D, a lot of times we call active breathing. We breathe through the mouth, and it's just to activate that prefrontal cortex and get into the subconscious mind. And that's specific for that reason, to release trauma. But when you're in daily life, you should always be breathing through the nose. That's where the expression like mouth breather came from. It's like a mouth breather. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it's just like you're not thinking. You're just like do. That's what I think of as like a mouth breather. And I used to work with a guy. He used to call people mouth breathers, and it was just like, basically you're dumb, but it's literally when you breathe through your nose or when you breathe through your mouth, it's telling your body that you're in this flight freeze type of scenario. Especially that's why people or they suggest using mouth. A lot of people suggest using mouth tape at night because like you're in the state of, oh my God, like what's going on? And your emotions are heightened and your body's like, oh, I need to run from a tiger. You're breathing through your mouth, but when you breathe through your nose, you're in a parasympathetic calm state. And so your body's relaxed where digestion is better. It's where you can think clear. It's where you're peaceful. So that's why you should almost always, as much as possible, breathe through your nose throughout the day.
That's so fascinating. I would have never made that connection unless you said that, but it is true. Like when you're breathing through your mouth out of necessity, it's usually because you're out of breath. And in those moments, it's either high exasperation of physical or biologically from caveman days, like running from a lion or something.
Yeah.
So but that's crazy. I mean, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, if you can connect that, right? It's like you're running from a line, you're like, but then you're in car and traffic, like, you're like,
Why am I so stressed out?
Yeah, it's only supposed to be for a few minutes while you run through. I mean, genetically, it's only supposed to be a few minutes, and we're supposed to. They say primitive cultures actually used to have so much like downtime and free time, and now we like, don't as a society, right? We're always like going, and it's like they go out and hunt, but the rest of the day they have like a curricular activity, they're by the fire, they're calm, right? Or a lot less doing than we have today.
Yeah.
This is interesting, right?
They probably weren't eating as often either in that environment.
Yeah.
So they probably had to preserve calories and just
That's
save
true.
the energy for when it was necessary.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They definitely weren't like hitting the gym and trying to like bulk up.
They didn't need to.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, they didn't have enough protein probably.
Protein
shake from woolly mammoths. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
I used to work with a guy who was a literal mouth breather. And what's funny is he was actually one of the best salespeople I've ever worked with. But he literally like he's a little bit of a dopey guy. But like
Intense.
when I think of mouth breather, I think of that dude. Because he was really good at selling, but he was kind of dopey, which is what you think of when you think of a mouth breather.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the association.
When we were doing the 90 breathwork session, I noticed that there's an incorporation of EMDR in the audio sense. And so for any of the listeners, EMDR is a therapy modality where oftentimes they'll use some sort of mechanism to get your eyes to focus left to right. And in the 9D, it's an audio focus that's kind of sweeping from ear to ear. The theory or the science behind it is that there's things that are in a particular region of your brain, and if you need to process it, they use it a lot for PTSD. And so it'll move from the region where the memory lives into the side of your brain where it can be processed. And I feel like that incorporation in the 9D was very powerful for me to have these releases that I didn't even know that I needed.
Yeah. So like the 9D is actually 9. It's supposed to be, it's 9-dimensional, but it's really just a way of saying there's so many different ways of the creator, Brian Kelly. He describes it. There's so many different ways to get into the subconscious mind and release trauma. And we use all like meditation, like you said, the EMDR, we use affirmations, solfeggio frequencies, coaching, the music, binaural beats, and he put it all in one and then added the breath. So I always say it's like meditation on steroids with the breath added. So I was like, even if you put on the headphones and just breathe just normally, you can get a lot from it, like the meditation portion. So some people will just not be ready for the full deep breathing. I'm just like, come and see if you like it and use it as a relaxation. And then at the end, there's always a part of the 9D where it's like you release in the beginning or in the middle, and then you visualize. So a lot of visualization in a lot of the 9D. They all have different themes. So some are more visualization than others, but you can visualize what you do want. So it's like when your subconscious is open, okay, now we get to call in and be grateful or think about freedom or think about abundance. And I love that part of it. So it's like, you don't want to leave here being like, oh, I'm full of trauma and I released and now I'm crying, which again is okay. It's totally okay because you could keep releasing what needs to be released hours later, days later, but you also want to leave. A lot of people feel elated after the session.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about focusing on the trauma. It's focusing on the healing.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that approach makes people more comfortable because I definitely say that in energy healings, we don't have to focus on the trauma. We can identify I'm sad or upset and emotional in this one arena, but you don't have to sit and hash over it during breath work. It's maybe setting the intention, I'm coming in to heal this part of my person that needs the healing, and then allowing it all to come through. And that softer approach, I think, is just so much easier. We are in this world where people go to therapy and they talk about things over and over and over. But a lot of times what I find is people can't get over the hump of the actual healing part of it.
Yeah.
But you incorporate something like this, and I can definitely say with the breath work and especially all these 9 dimensions of the layers that are in these tapes, it really does elevate and put you in a place where you are calm and you do feel better. You feel lighter. You feel like I've just released something. I've like tapped into a special part of my body that I've never been able to access before. It's transformative. It really is. Yeah. It's like so much bigger than just laying and listening and breathing. It is life-changing.
Yeah, I've had people say to me, "Oh my gosh, I've been doing talk therapy for years and I've been able to release more in that hour than I've done in years."
Yeah.
And I think a little both. Maybe I've never done talk therapy and not against it, but I just feel like, yeah, sometimes you need like that second layer because stuff is, you can talk about things all day. Stuff is stuck in the body. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you do it, especially if you do it in tandem together, you're going to
Yeah.
move forward even faster.
Yeah. Get to where you need to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I do therapy and then the breath work also, but therapy for me is like I'm an external processor, and so I just kind of get to
Mm.
hear myself talk, and then I go,
Mm.
oh, you kind of get these aha moments.
Yeah.
But the actual healing from the release of the breath work matched with intentionality. So one that comes to mind, I was doing this series of meditations, and it was tapping into my masculine energy in this particular one,
Mm.
and the breath work, it stirs up so much energy, like you saying, your body's like vibrating, and it's kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
priming for the hemisync
Yeah.
when you're doing the breath work.
Yeah.
So I literally had a vision of my dad who had passed away like 7 years ago. And so short story long, my mom and my bio dad got divorced when I was a baby, so we didn't have much of a relationship. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, like you weren't there to teach me how to be masculine. And he's like, no, dude, like it's already inside you. Like you never needed me
Mm.
there. And it was like, boom, this huge release. And I'm like by myself, and I still like put a pillow over my face because I was
Huh.
like embarrassed, but I was like
Yeah.
bawling. So there's
Yeah.
so much power, I think, in multiple modalities, but the healing, like you can get aha moments and process things, but the actual release of the trauma through the actual physical body work or healing sessions is,
Mm-hmm.
I found so much more powerful than just like talking to someone.
Yeah, you get to release in that safe space. And I've had seen people, more men, like laugh the whole time. It's like a nervous, and I go, that's part of a release. Like it's almost like a nervous laughter, and like maybe it's like your first layer. And I always tell people if you need to come back, because you'll have different responses every time. Yeah, maybe one time you'll laugh, one time you'll cry, one time you'll be like, "Oh, it's okay." That time, like neither, which is totally fine. Or you feel something different. I had one girl tell me that she didn't do my breath work, but she went to a breath work session and she released a lot. And she goes, the next day, I just was in the car bawling. I couldn't even go to work. And she goes, I never want to do that again. And I told her, I go, the problem wasn't that you did the breath work. The problem was you were told that, oh my God, my feelings, I have anxiety now. Like, oh my gosh, I'm crying. I'm in the car. I was like, that's what you need. That's what your body needs. And you're so resilient and you just need to sit in that and you just need like the day to yourself and then come back and do it again. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I go, oh my gosh, it's such powerful healing. We're just told that, oh my God, if we're upset or we anxiety, that's bad. No, it's just a healing response to what you went through.
Yeah, your body's
Right?
communicating to you.
Yeah.
And it's saying something very important and you're not listening now. So now
Yeah.
it's going to hold on to the anxiety even more. That's really what anxiety is. It's like, knock, knock, knock. Hello, I have a problem. I need help. And you're like, I just need you
Yeah.
to go away for a
Right.
minute. I'll talk to you later. It's like, are you sure? Because I think I need help. It's
Yeah.
just, otherwise all of that's stored in the body, right? And then
Yeah.
we encounter disease and we wonder why we have all these things that impact our bodies because these emotional responses aren't being addressed or acknowledged.
Yes.
And if you don't have to think about it and you can just breathe or essentially laugh your way through it, maybe it's a trauma laugh, whatever it is, just let it happen. It'll be so much easier to just spend the 90 minutes to do your class and allow the body and maybe take another 24 hours. I mean, what's 2 days in the scheme of your whole life? It's really not much.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It helps.
So high performers are usually hard on themselves. So it's kind of the dark side of the high performance motivation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it's such a strange balance because you push yourself to be a high performer, which is so valued in our society. So I think you have to ask, and I just saw something about this and it was like, oh my gosh, it was so powerful. But it was talking about how high achievers were always like, oh, my business is at this point, and I went through this myself, and now I want to do more, so I want to make this much, and it's like all these things out there is like, oh, now you can be a huge business, and you can all these, and then I thought too much. I went through it myself, and I was like, I don't want that. I want it. I want to help some people. I want it to be fun, and I want free time to spend with friends and family and do fun things. And I was like, but then you're this high achiever, but part of me like, oh, I want more in building, or I want to be super successful. So that's what our society is kind of telling us. So I think that the really answer is just asking why, what is this for? What is this high achieving telling me? And it's for me, it was my worthiness. It was like, well, I'll be seen as worthy if I'm the high achiever. And if I make this amount of money, like, and I'm like, well, I could travel on, I don't really need I like to hike and I need shoes and like in a water bottle. I'm like, that's what I love doing and time. So it was literally just asking yourself, why do you need to, what is it about? Like really to your core, and maybe sitting in that. What is that high achieving about? Is it something you really, really want? Or is it like a cover for you don't feel enough just being you, right? Because just sitting and being yourself is the hardest thing there is. Like just being like, what if I did nothing? What if I had no job and just like, just kind of saw everybody? I would be like, oh my God, it'd be in my mind, it'd be worthless, right? But I was like, why do I need all that external everything to make me feel better? So it's really just asking that question. And then if you're like, okay, I need to achieve, but if it's if it's hurting your health or your relationships, it's really, I would advise taking a step back and really asking yourself, is this really worth it? Because I've done that with my own life lately, and I'm just like, nope. Like, yeah, no, I want to just enjoy my life. And I think you hit that too I turned 50 last year, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's this wake up call almost. That age like really hit me, not in a bad way, but I was like, I gotta live now. Like this is it. Like this is really it. Yeah.
I had the same thing about a year ago. It's like, oh, life isn't going to go the way that you want it to go unless you take it over.
Yeah.
And you really honor yourself and the things that make you happy and like the type of life you want to lead. I can take power and control over that and show up in a way that honors myself, my future, my dreams.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love that you did it. I mean, when we learned about your transition from being a police officer to a healer, it's just such a juxtaposition in my mind from going from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've talked about you multiple times, Joe and I, because we think it's just really inspiring what you've done. And it also shows people you can pivot and your life can be wonderful. Don't be afraid of the pivot.
Yeah. Your life can be like totally different.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
Why not?
Which is good. But there was also a phase. It was like, I didn't realize I had to mourn my old life.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize it's like, there was grief. I didn't understand it because I was like super sad because you had lived as this person that was your whole life. And then all of a sudden I'm not that person anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It was a lot of grief. And I didn't realize I was going through that grief of like creating something new, which was okay, but mourning the old person that I was.
I'm definitely going through that a bit now. And I don't know if it's as much mourning, but I notice I'm okay with who I am now compared to who I was. I was a party girl before. But the people around me in my life that have known me for so long, they're confused how I can once be a party girl and now I don't do that. And I'm a healer. They're like, these two things aren't the same, but they are. It's like the evolution of self.
Yeah, you could change. But yeah, that old part of you is gone. So it's just like those other people sometimes fall away.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So this is a perfect segue because I wanted to talk about when you were a detective. When you were a young woman or a child even, did you always want to be a police officer and be a detective?
I think my parents told me that I wanted to be in the FBI when I was younger. I don't remember like, no, I never really like wanted, it was never like a life goal. It literally happened because I needed a job. When I graduated college, I was working at the park district and I was in like a fitness area and my dad was a police officer. So he's like, just take the test. He's like, just take the test. And if you don't get hired, you don't get hired, but take the test. So I took the test and then she's like, you won't hear about it for years. Like, so you can keep going in your life. But they started the process of like, it's a process. You have to see a psychiatrist and fitness tests and somebody comes to your house for interviews. So there is a process to get on the police department, but it happened really quickly. And usually it used to happen, like take a lot of time. And so all of a sudden I'm like, I guess I'm going to do this. Well, I could quit if I don't want it, if I don't like it. But it was once you start going, that was it. Right. I was like, okay. Now I'm in. So yeah, it was weird because I never actually chose it. It just kind of happened. I'm so glad that it happened the way it did. And that was my life. But But yeah, it was never like a dream, because there was people in the police department that was like their dream, right?
It's like the legacy. Like a lot of people, it's like a lineage of police officers. I
There's
have
so many.
a
Yeah.
woman that used to be an employee of mine who's like her dad or grandpa, her grandpa's her dad's dad, whatever, on and
Yes.
down. So I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
How long
A
were
lot.
you? How long were you a detective for?
So I was detective for 8 years.
Wow, were you always in violent crimes?
Yeah, I was in violent crimes right away. So I was in the police for a total of 23, but the last 8 were detective. Yeah, in the violent crimes.
What's some of the like first things that come to your mind, the wildest things you've ever seen, if you can talk about it?
I feel like I know people like ask like, "Oh, you've seen a lot of crazy stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah." I usually don't like tell people like exact stories, because I'm like, it's not like happy stories. Like they're
Sure.
wild, like sad stories. Like it's very people suffering, seeing their kids getting killed and having to tell like families that, your child is dead, right? There's that type of thing. You got to make that notification. So I feel like the craziest thing in general is that you almost get to a place and people are like, don't you hold that with you? I go, it does become a job where you have to do your job. So, and like nurses and doctors are the same thing, right? It's like they're in the emergency room. It's not like, oh my God, somebody got shot. Like you're like, okay, you got to go do it. Like, so it becomes like a job. So it's almost a day-to-day thing where you're seeing like bad things happen and experience it. I would do have to say, sometimes we used to watch. They have cameras all over the city, right? And the blue, I think they're changing them now, but the cameras in the city, and they'll be recorded. So we used to watch some of them because people would label them, and I tell people, you don't know the crazy things going on in the city until you watch these cameras. Like one guy would be like, look what happened last night. Like just from like car accidents or people walking around naked. Like, yeah, just like this crazy woman trying to like going up to cars and like with boxing gloves on and punching the cars, like drunk people like on their bike, just crazy, or shootouts in the street. Like there was, yeah. And it's really, you're like, oh my God, there was like just a shootout, like on another shootout, like, cause they're on video, right? A lot of it's on video. So it does in some neighborhoods, it happens quite often. And I think the same thing with the communities that live there, they get apathetic to seeing it and being around it and hearing the gunshots, which is really sad. Because I told people like, oh wait, this neighborhood we hear gunshots all the time. I'm like, that's not normal. It's like they don't realize that you're not supposed to live that way. Like you're not supposed to have to walk, because he used to walk in the street instead of the sidewalk because the people would come through the gangway. It was like you're not supposed to have to walk in the street and look over your shoulder every minute. It's just not normal, but it's so normalized when people live that way. And it's sad. Like I also say when people are like, well, it happens in certain neighborhoods than others, and I go, you have to treat it as like if something happened bad in your neighborhood, you should be shocked and appalled and be super upset by it. That's like a normal response. But people get so used to it. It's just like, it happened or it's horrible. And so, yeah.
Also
yeah.
me, I'm like, well, what can we do? I'm like,
yeah.
I also sometimes think it's part of city living.
Yeah.
I have a lot of activity on the street, on this block. And it is what it is at some point. And I also grew up in a not so nice neighborhood, and I grew up with that. Also, I don't know. I very much am like, well, this is city living. We're all living close to each other. We have mixed income, and it's part of it. I just pray that I'm not going to be a victim of it because, what can I do? I'm just going to continue to live my life. I'm not going to be dumb. But you're right. It shouldn't be like this. But
it should be like everyone, hey, we don't want this happening on our street. Because some areas of the city, if something happens, they're like, oh, we don't want that. This can't be happening on our street. And they complain, and it's a big thing. Yeah, because the citizens like say, no way, we're not having people being crazy on our street. So it's always a reflection of, I go, you guys can do that in the bad neighborhoods. If you guys are like, we're not having you guys come on our block. Like, we don't want gangbangers on our block. Whenever I see you, like, I was take it. The people have so much power. Like if they took control of like, I don't care who you are. You're not shooting on my block. We're calling the police. We're working with the police. But usually it's the opposite. It's like, we don't want to get in trouble, or people are fearful too. Right. Yeah. Which is understandable.
Being in the police force for 23 years and you spent a lot of time seeing things that are, probably it's someone's bad day, right? Like everyone's bad day is a lot of the times when you have to show up. And so people talk a lot about soldiers having PTSD, but a lot of people don't talk about first responders and the PTSD that they may have because they've had to compartmentalize all these things. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've never been a soldier, but I feel like the soldiers, if you see something bad happen with, like, it's closer to like somebody you're in the army with, like that's devastating. And I see as a detective, a police officer, you're a little bit removed. So even though you see something happening to other people and you do feel, depending on the person, right, empathetic towards them, or some things will stay with you. It's like you're just going to work and doing this work. Whereas I think as a soldier, I couldn't imagine being like seeing my friends or whatever get hurt or killed or the leg blown up. Like that would really affect me. But as the police, there is an element of that, but you can, like you said, compartmentalize or detach. Unless you actually get in like a situation yourself where you have to shoot and kill somebody or somebody shoots at you, like that's different. But just seeing it and like being a detective and working on the cases and there's a level of it is work and you're not as attached, or I was not as attached to it because I'm like, it's my job and I have to go do it. I mean, you definitely, I could say one thing I do remember is having to make a notification is it was a man who, because I will never forget, he was buff and he was this big guy and he had a son and he was the main caretaker of his son and he is slightly like autistic and he was shot and killed and it was horrific. And we had to go notify him and we couldn't find his house and we finally found him and I will never forget, he looked at me like I did it. Like he's like, I cannot believe you just told me that. And I just like froze. I was literally like, and then he just like went nuts and like screamed on the street. So we had like knocking the neighbors' doors, but it was like that stayed with me because it was like, I didn't do it, in my mind, I was like, oh my God. But I felt so bad because it was his only son that he, and he's like, did he get in trouble? What happened? So you have to just, tear off the Band-Aid. I was like, you have to make that notification and tell people. But you would have to do that on and on. And I tell people, you just got to do it like you're tearing off a Band-Aid to tell the person, make sure they're okay, and then you're handling, and then you get another case. So again, you are used to, there is a dissociation, I feel, for me. Like I was not going home and be like, oh my God, I'm destroyed, I'm crying. I'm like, no, I have to, it's part of my job, right? To be emotionally regulated in that sense. And there's also a lot of help for counseling for police officers if they do need it.
I've never thought of that distinction though. It's your brothers in arms. If you're a soldier, and you witness someone that you built a deep connection with go through something or like possibly be killed, that would definitely be much more traumatic. Not to say that one's trauma is better, different, anything, but this is a terrible but it reminded me of, I used to work at a bank, but like the money at the bank, people would be like, do you ever think about taking the money? I'm like, that's like work money. Like the money doesn't, it's like, it's like your tasks at work don't trigger the real, like I didn't look at it like, look at all the money. I was like, that's not even real money. That's just the work money. It's like monopoly money at that point. Yeah. Again, not the best analogy comparatively, but that it kind of made me think, okay, I can sort of understand what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, it was my job. And you do it so often. In some cases are like worse than others, or stay with you. But sometimes it's like, okay, well, this guy shot this guy. And then let's get go down the list of what you're supposed to do. And you're just doing your job. I felt like especially both men and women, we were very focused on solving the cases, right? And doing the job. So that was our focus. So it wasn't like we're sitting like being emotionally triggered all the time. We're like, you're busy, you're doing the job. I will say when I retired, my body totally decompressed because you are running on adrenaline, and I drink coffee like like midnight, drinking coffee, up all night. So it took me I would say at least a year for my body to like come back down. I would go to bed. I remember telling my dad, I'm like, I've been going to bed at like 8 p.m. And he's like, are you depressed? I go, no, I'm tired. Like I want to be in bed. And
I bet that was fuel. The crimes are probably fuel to allow you to do a better job. So that totally tracks. I'm very curious about this transition though, the transition time from going one to the other. Were you like, what was that like? More than just the sleep and the releasing of the stress and the adrenaline?
Yeah, it was hard because you realize you crave the drama. oh my God. And then you're like, oh my God, this is so boring. Everything's so boring. And I didn't expect that. And you want it because you're always working. So you're like, I just want to relax. And then once you are able to relax, I have a partner, I think, who went through the same thing because he went to another police department, which like nothing's going on. And I'm like, be careful. I go, you think you're going to want it. You think you want to get away from the chaos. But once you're away, you realize you were addicted to the chaos. And I was like, oh my God, now I got to focus on my life. And that is, like I said, sitting with yourself is the hardest thing. I was like, oh, and I traveled. So I was traveling by myself and kind of just processing everything. Yeah, it was an interesting it took me a while just to be like, okay, you can just go out and walk and hike. And I'm like, okay, I'm bored. There's no trauma. And I went to like a really safe town in Idaho for a while. And I was like, oh my God, nothing happens here. And that's what like you think you want, but it was strange. Like I missed the chaos and the drama.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I took a break between, I had been working at a position and I got headhunted to go to another position. It was towards the beginning of the year. So I wound up being able to take like a 2-month break. And I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to get to take this break. Mm-hmm. And I was going nuts because I was so used to this anxiety all the time. Go, 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 go. Like I realized how our brains are so addicted to solving these problems, especially when they're like aggressive, stressful problems. And I actually started creating problems. Like I would like start like little fights with my fiance at the time. And then I remember I got in a fight with a guy in like a parking lot, not like a physical altercation, but like he cut me off. And then I was like, oh, you're just going to cut me off. Like, it was like so dumb because I had nothing to create that stress or drama in my life. And my brain was like, we gotta get some stuff to freak out about, bro, or like some problems.
Right. Yeah.
Which was partially why I realized, okay, I don't think I would be good at being retired. But there's probably a version of that that's like healthy, where I'm not like, it's not like an anxious problem. It's like a good problem to solve.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just relaxing. It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. And somebody was just asking me like, do you think it was a woman, she wanted to retire from her job. She goes, do you think I should be looking for something else? I go, you have to have a patch, something you want to do, right? Whether you have like a lot of people have kids or grandkids they watch and, or almost everybody I know that I works another job after they retire. Yeah.
You talk a lot about identity shifts. What's the best way someone can shift into a new version of themselves?
It's literally your habits, right? It's like all the little things you do. It's like, think about like somebody and nutrition and health is such a big part of it. Because think of somebody that's like really trying to lose weight, or they're like those people that are like 300 pounds and all of a sudden they're like 150 pounds and they go to the gym every day. It's such a huge identity shift because you know them as like, oh, they're eating pizza or they're out late or you're like a drink or partier. And it's just like start creating those habits and do the little habits, like get up and going to the gym every day. And now you have friends that are at the gym, or even when you talked about the partying, and it's such a huge identity shift. And I stopped drinking like a couple of years ago, and that's even like a small identity. I was never a big drinker, but it's just like a habit that I stopped. And I'm like, okay, now I still go out and have my mocktail, whatever, but your identity was you don't go out and have a drink anymore. So it's like a shift because it's your habit. So it's like you start, the identity is like, what habits do you want, and start living them. Start pretending, like just pretend like you're an actor. Like put on, I started wearing like, I'm going to wear dresses more. So I'm like wearing a dress because I want to be a little more feminine. So that was part of my identity shift. So just, even though sometimes I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, stepping outside of that comfort zone and creating the habits of that new identity, even though it doesn't feel like it's quite you, is how to start.
I love the pretend. I always say set an intention. Just set the intention that you're going to do it. And same thing as playing pretend. It's exact same energy.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to go 100 miles per hour. You can just go baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. Like, what would you look like? What would you think? Even your thoughts, like I started saying different thoughts. I tell people my affirmation is what if, because people do the affirmations, but I feel like there's such a, like, I am this. And it was too hokey in my head. So I started just saying, well, what if I was like easier on myself? And every time I had a negative thought, I go, what if this is not true? Or what if I can just relax? And it was just like, not even have to answer it, but it completely shifts. Like, what if I can't find the plate? What if I'm late? What if I'm on time? And I realized so many negative thoughts. I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally telling myself all day, like, to be in fear, to think negatively. And it was just like, I didn't have to totally switch it. I just like, what if this is a lie? Like, what if these people don't like me? I'm like, what if they do? What if they think you're really cool? Like, so it's that what if, those two words like totally shifted how I felt. And I constantly do it still. Like, what if everything works out? What if things like super easy? Like, what if like money flows, I do it with abundance. Money just flows to me. What if everything always works out? So that's like a huge identity shift with the mind.
It feels less scary to say what if.
Yeah.
Because we should question everything. I really do believe that in general, we should just question things. Someone tells me this is the best, and I'm always going to say, well, why? Because your opinion might be different than mine, but you're proposing the question to yourself, what if? It really does. Yeah. It's softer to reframe your brain. It's really cool.
Yeah. I feel like that was been the most helpful, like small shift that I was just like, what if that's not even true?
One of our guests, James, he's a doctor, and he said, our mind judges statements, but not questions. And so you're essentially going from, and I believe for me, affirmations are hokey. Like, it's the cognitive dissonance where my belief in, like, I'd have to do an affirmation 10 gazillion times for it to reprogram. But when you go, well, what would it look like if the opposite happened? Your brain doesn't go, that's not true. Your brain starts going, okay, well, let me answer this question. And it really is so powerful when you can just, it's like a little cognitive trick where essentially you're bypassing that frontal cortex that wants to just, I actually don't know what part of the brain it is, but it's the part of the brain that goes, that's not true. The ego,
right?
Essentially,
yeah, the ego, like, no, you ain't. Like, I am thin. I'm the no, you ain't. Like, your brain's gonna, But what if I could be? What if I could be healthier? What if it could be easy? It really is.
What if I gave myself a chance?
Did I give myself a chance? Yeah.
You start imagining the possibilities. Like, I can't afford that. Well, how can I afford that? And then your brain goes into problem solving mode instead of, but that's a big one that I play with, especially with visualization, because I feel like that prints on your brain really well versus just affirmations they never like worked well for me. I always kind of had to find like little tricks. So I really like that.
Yeah.
What if flip?
What if? And then I'll shift into the why, like, why is it so easy? And people, I know I use it with other people and they don't always like that, but, why am I so amazing today? And sometimes that could be a little hokey. So I'll go back to the what if, but it's like a shift, like the next step. I always like, go to the next step. And even people say I can't visualize. I was like, what if you could visualize? And then start saying, what if I'm good at visualizing? Like, what would that look like? Ooh, and it's kind of exciting. You're like, oh, that would be cool.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
So cool. You just kind of keep going. That's like the 7 layers deep where you just, but then it's like a really positive way. I actually met this woman, and this is when I started to really think about we all have this running narration. And she's like, yeah, my like inner monologue is positive all the time. I was like, what? I'm like, that's a thing. And then I started being like, oh, there are probably people out there that just run around with like this happy. Yeah. So like they got good programming from the start. And I think a lot of people, especially people that are high achievers, like I think that we all are kind of fall into that mindset trap sometimes, which is, it's good, but there's obviously a dark side.
Yeah.
The achievement is like that grasping for more, which is kind of from a place of the worthiness. Like you said, like when I quit my corporate job, I didn't realize how much my status meant to me. Like I had a complete just confidence crisis where I was like, I have no value because I don't have employees and all this income. And like, it is really like this hole you're trying to fill, but it's not coming from the sense of self where you want to just be like, well, who am I trying to impress? I was literally trying to impress everyone. I wasn't trying to even impress myself because I wasn't even impressed with myself when I achieved it. So in a roundabout way, like what are some of the best transformations you've seen with your clients that may be coming from a space where they want to feel that worthiness?
People that have come back over and over, they come to a sense of peace. And that's the biggest transformations I've seen. People just have this level of anxiety, or they tell me, I'm going through a lot right now. And I just did actually a breathwork it was about ancestral healing. And just the feedback I get, I think that's why I love the breathwork, because sometimes you can get the feedback in like 90 minutes. You get a shift. And the girl's like, the shift, that the things they went through, like the parents and seeing the parents of visualization. And they're like, the things that came up when I was talking to my mom and dad and they were in the room with me were so powerful. And there was so much forgiveness just in those 90 minutes. Yeah. You create this shift. And I've done it myself with my dad. I've seen the shift where it's like, oh, I was able to forgive all this resentment I had and we had a good relationship, but still there's always things with your parents, right? It's like, there's always. and so those transformations where I see like in 90 minutes and people share them with me. So I love when people share. I'm like, no, share more. I've healed my relationship with like my mother and father, or see them differently. I just had a woman told me, she's like, she goes, I had a conversation with my son, and she goes, and then I did this breath work. And she goes, it's crazy because every time I come to your breath works, like I'm thinking something in my life is happening. And then the breath work is related, like the theme. And she goes, and I was able to release this. I'm not going to hand down all my trauma to my son. So those type of things are the shifts like I see. I feel like I see a lot when people share with me. Yeah.
So cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. Breathwork's been the most powerful modality that I've discovered. I feel like healing work, or just really anything in general, is like, I call it like, it's like cooking eggs, scrambled over easy, like whatever you like, whatever works is like the best thing.
We know that you've gone through all these transitions and you are now a breathwork guru. What's the next step for Vital Edge? What's Vital Edge going to start moving into next? And how can people get involved with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel these first couple of years as studying breathwork and learning it, and I just rebranded as Vital Edge, and I'm super excited because I'm working with more high achievers, but also athletes. Because when I was in high school, I remember being an athlete, even just in high school. Wasn't even competing in college, but there was a lot of anxiety for these high school kids. So I'm like college and high school, and I have a nephew that's a musician and performer, and it's not, I know there's some things that talk about the mental health, like it's a lot of pressure, right? To be performing in general. So Vital Edge is really focused on one-on-one and going to these bands and being like, before your session or after or both, can do this breathwork session. So you can be in that, I call it the clutch protocol. And it's like when you're stuck in that clutch, how do you find peace? How do you perform at a higher level when you're calm? How do you get over that anxiety? So that's kind of what's new. And I'm developing programs for athletes and for performers because they kind of can use the same type of thing, and visualization. So I'm personalizing the breath work a lot more, but it includes the 9D and the headphones.
I love it. Do you like Rick Rubin at all? Do you know who Rick Rubin is?
No.
He's this music producer who doesn't really know anything about music, but he knows everything about music, all from honoring self. He's very much into breathwork and visualization. I think you'd really enjoy listening to interviews about him. Yeah. He does the same thing. He works with top performers. I think he's a music producer. Actually, I don't even know what his official title is, but he's able to unlock something in these artists that was there all along that they didn't know that they had. And it sounds very similar to what you're doing. I think you could gain a lot of inspiration from him, potential tools, or who knows, maybe one day you and Rick Rubin will be partners.
I have to look him up.
Rick Rubin's fascinating, but he's like someone who can unlock that stuff. And what I love about the name Vital Edge is I used to think that my anxiety, and it wasn't anxiety, I didn't know it at the time, but it was like my on it thing was the fuel that actually helped me be more successful. But until I realized that I was essentially operating in this fight or flight mechanism perpetually. And when you go into the sympathetic, which is the mode when you're like using the breath work or calming down, you can actually make clear decisions. Because when you're in fight or flight, it's like, am I going to die? Am I in like something bad can happen? So you make these, I don't want to say erratic, but they're almost like, you're not accessing the part of your brains that actually give you the most of your facilities. And so I think people like getting that vital edge, which is essentially being able to tap into the right part of their brain, can make them perform even better because they can do it without being in this high stress state and make logical, clear decisions.
Right. Yeah. And then even on the other side of that, like if you have a performance or a game and you're like, I didn't have a good performance or I didn't have a good game. Like, how do you deal with that anxiety? Because I remember being stressed out, be like, oh, I missed all my free throws, like in basketball. Like I would stress out about it. And it's like coming to a point where you can release that because it's not a reflection of like the true you. It's so powerful also. Like, so really regulating a lot of nervous system regulation and what that means. Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Vital Edge?
I was just looking for just a name that kind of encompassed like that energy. And it was just like an online search and it just popped in my head. So
it's a great name.
Yeah.
It's literally amazing. It's got so many layers to it. It's kind of also like how art is up to interpretation by the viewer also. And so my interpretation was you're getting this vital edge, which is this actual part of the brain that like is going to help you perform better. Yeah. Because a lot of high performers do exist in that more, I'd say, fight or flight state, because it's like, it's like we were talking about, it's like exciting to be in these states where you're like, yeah, let's go. And you're all amped up. But that's when you like redline and, you know, something kind of.
You can only do that for so long, right? It's just like you burn out.
Oh my gosh, burnout. Or you start numbing to avoid.
Yeah.
And that's not good either.
It's like, that's another thing. Yeah, that's true. Or you start alcohol or drugs to numb that. Yeah. Constant stress. Yeah.
Our last question, and then we'll ask because we had like 10 minutes where it was like we were setting up still. What are your thoughts on burnout, and how can people kind of heal from that and get back to a space where they're more in their sympathetic?
Yeah, that goes back to healing your nervous system. And I've been studying that a lot lately, because I was like, what does that really mean to your nervous system? And it's not just like you're calm. It's more of your whole system is like in a state of release and relax. And it doesn't matter what's going on outside of you. So some people can come up and yell and scream at you, or you can get in an accident and you're in this, just your body never gets ramped up. You're like in control of it, which sounds amazing, right? But it's something you have to practice, right? So this regulating your nervous system, and we're supposed to live in this state of calm most of the time, and we're not. And if you do not address it at some point, your body keeps the score, right? It's going to manifest as anger issues. Or your relationships are going to suffer, or your body's going to just break down. You're going to get a disease. You're going to get sick. As the burnout, I would say address it before your body addresses it, right? Do the work, which people like, I know my sister's like, well, what the heck is the work? And I go, it could be whatever you want. It could be going to therapists. It could be doing the breath work. It could be just sitting in meditation. It could be taking time for yourself, journaling, those things that kind of seem woo-woo or whatever. That's what the work is, sitting with yourself.
If someone wanted to shortcut things, I hate to even use that term, but what's been the most powerful, fastest healing modality that you've experienced?
So for me, it was the breath work. That's why I started to do it. Because when I first did it, I, would do meditation or tried meditation, and I still, meditate, but the breath work got me there so much faster. And like I have never done talk therapy, so I can't address that. But for me, it was like when the first time I did it, I was like, I had all these thoughts where I thought that came up, which I had no idea they were there. It was like from years ago that I hadn't processed. So I was like, whoa, that's for me, that's been the quickest way.
And actually for me as well. So I wanted to make sure I asked that question because I figured that would be the answer, but like it is literally been I'm like, wow, I don't need to go to therapy anymore.
Right.
Like it literally was like, if you do the work, I actually found I had to do less of the work if I just did the actual like heavy lifting work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people just kind of scratch at the surface, and then for 2 years, like, oh, go to a new therapist, then you start over again and just scratch. But when you like mind that, and what's funny is, and this is last year I was talking to Christina about this, there's a point where you're like, wow, I'm healing so much. And then you're like, this sucks. Like I feel worse.
Yeah.
But then you got to keep peeling it back, because on the other side, you just feel so much better. But there was that, like, what do they call it? The dark night of the something.
Night of the soul.
Yeah, dark night of the soul.
Yeah. Right. Where you're going, you're like, I don't feel good. I thought healing was supposed to heal. But yeah, keep going through it.
Where can people find you, and what are your latest projects?
So Fuel the Beast Nutrition on Instagram, and my name, Kristi Battalini, on Facebook. I usually post there. And then Vital Edge Breathwork on Instagram mostly is where you could find me, message me. My website's Fuel the Beast Nutrition. I have both breathwork and nutrition stuff on there. And I'm usually do breathwork in the Chicago area at Alter. Right now I'm at Alter Yoga Now and We the People. So usually, and then some other here and there. But yeah, reach out. I'm always looking to work with performers or college athletes or high performers, wherever you're at, one-on-one or groups.
Yeah, I would say if you're curious, definitely take a class. It's a great place to start. You won't regret it. Like Joe said earlier, you're going to have a massive release. You're going to feel so good. And then you're going to be addicted.
Yeah, the 90 breath work, and especially when we went to work with you, Kristi, was like, it's like life-changing. So highly recommend anyone follow Kristi, send her a message if you're interested in working with her.
Yeah,
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really excited we got to talk with you today.
Incredible.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. So much fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow Modern Alchemy and watch all of our episodes.
All right.
Tell all your friends.
And subscribe.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.